Welcome to Seat at the Table, where we believe technical skills will get you in the room, but your soft skills and business acumen will earn you a seat at the table. My name is Jarek Beeson, and I am the host. We're seeking to have candid conversations with leaders across all verticals, all industries, all disciplines, diving into topics that will prepare and equip cybersecurity leaders by extracting the hard-earned lessons from the years of experience each of our guests bring to the show. On today's show, we're going to depart from our typical format of honing in on a single topic. We're calling this a fireside chat because this is more of an informational but structured interview of a phenomenal guest. Our guest today is Caroline Wong, Chief Strategy Officer at Cobalt. As you will soon find out, limiting Caroline to a single topic would be a disservice to anyone tuning in. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be seated around the virtual fire with you.
As am I. Do you mind sharing your background and the litany of things that you have on your hands with the audience?
So I've been with Cobalt for 6 years. I'm now our Chief Strategy Officer. We are a pen test as a service company. I started my information security career 17 years ago, leading security teams at eBay and then at Zynga. I've been a product management leader at Symantec. I've been a management consultant performing BSIM assessments with Cigital. And in 2016, I joined Cobalt. I also have authored a few books. I have a podcast. It's called Humans of InfoSec. And I teach courses on LinkedIn Learning about cybersecurity topics.
So you're not really busy. That's what I'm hearing.
Not super busy, kind of looking for more stuff to do, feeling a little bored some of the time.
As someone that was a guest on your podcast, you really do quality work, and I'm excited for this conversation. So let's hop right in. So the cyber team rolls up to you, but you made the decision to take the role of CISO directly out of your hands and have them report to you instead. Now, there's a lot of talk about reporting structures for the CISO, and many are passionate about it. Reporting to the Chief Strategy Officer, though, is not one that is usually debated. Can you share how you made that decision and what the dynamics are between you and your current security leader?
So it is quite unusual. For starters, Cobalt is a pen test as a service company. We are a cybersecurity company. Security is a strategic functional area for us. We're also kind of a small company. The company is Series B. We did 60% revenue growth last year. We're just on this growth trajectory. And so we've been very specific about how we structure the organization. When I joined the company, we were only 10 people. Now we're more than 200. And somewhere along that line, it made sense for us to begin dedicating FTEs to our internal cybersecurity, in addition to the product security features that we have for our platform and for our offerings. So I thought to myself, well, CISO is a hard job. I don't think I want that job, but I think that I could hire us a really extraordinary CISO. And I've been so pleased. We've had Ray Espinoza as a Cobalt CISO, and today we've got Andrew Obadiaru, just phenomenal leaders in the space. And I couldn't be more pleased to work with them. As Chief Strategy Officer, I make it my job to hire people who are way smarter and way more capable than me.
Yeah, that's definitely a core tenet of everything that I do as well. The people around me lift me up and make me look good, and I just try to give them all the credit in the process. So I like that approach. So with that approach to security, do any of your customers or any of the people that you deal with, do they question that decision?
I think folks are fine with it. When folks interact with us, what they want to know is, can I trust you? Can I trust you to deliver high quality pen test work? Can I trust that you're protecting my vulnerability data? And we put a lot of effort into it. For a 200-person company, we've got a security team that I think is larger than average. Certainly, we've got a security culture at the organization that's extremely strong. And we continue to build that every day. And it's convenient that we've got executive and leadership buy-in. That is not always something that we as security professionals can take for granted. And certainly we've got that at Cobalt.
I like that. Like I said, there is a lot of debate on who the CISO should report to. I think at the end of the day, whatever is best for your organization, and different organizations have different dynamics and different needs. Smaller organizations are going to be structured differently than large organizations. Organizations where the CIO carries a bigger stick is going to be structured a little bit differently in those organizations. So I commend you for not looking to industry and just saying, this is what's best for us and going for it.
Thank you. I'll actually add a little bit more detail just for fun, which is that as Chief Strategy Officer, I oversee not only our company long-term vision and strategy, as well as our program management for strategic projects and security and IT and people. I actually oversee our human resources team, because you can imagine that for a company that's growing as quickly as Cobalt is, finding amazing talent, recruiting those folks, hiring those folks, retaining and growing those folks is similarly strategic. And so I've had this really interesting experience over the past few years where I've actually been able to observe a lot of similarities between the work that I've become familiar with over my career as a security professional and the work of people professionals. Talent folks and people operations folks. At the end of the day, a lot of what it comes down to is human behavior and driving that human behavior in the direction that we want to see it. And for me, it's delightful.
I love it. And ultimately, security is a people business. I will stand by that for forever. So let's see. Outside of your day job, you talked about it. You're an author, a podcast host, a LinkedIn learning instructor. You're a board advisor. I don't think I heard you talk about that. How did you end up getting involved in all of this? Were you intentional about it, or did it just kind of happen organically over time? And then one more thing, how do you think these extracurricular activities impacted your career?
So in case it's not really obvious, I am a pretty severe extrovert. I get energy from the people who are around me. And my favorite part about working in this field has been the smart, passionate people, the quirky people that I've met. And so I welcome opportunities to do things with people. Sometimes I share with folks that my sister, she and I are only 2 years apart. She chose a very different career path. She's a pediatrician. And of course, to become a medical doctor, there's sort of a very, structured path that one must follow. And my career has always been really quite the opposite. I've always just sort of looked at, okay, where am I? And what are the opportunities in front of me? What are the problems that need solving? And how can I apply my experience, my skill set to that? And then let's go. I love trying new things. I love building new things. And I have kind of a short attention span, so I really like doing a lot of different things every day.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I get bored pretty easily. So the more things I have my hands in, the less likely I am to get bored. But I get asked this question all the time, and I'd love to get your response because I'm pretty sure someone has asked you this. How do you keep up with it all? How do you stay at the top of your game doing all those individual things?
Yep. So there are three things. Thing one, we already touched on, which is I've got an extremely strong team. My team is so capable, and I depend completely on my team. I could not do what I do without my team. And that applies so number one is professional team. Number two is personal team. My husband is a stay-at-home dad, and we have structured our life exactly the way that we want to and exactly the way that works for us. And it gives me the flexibility to be able to do what I need to do at work, because he's we've kind of got our family team responsibilities divvied up just in a way that works for us. And then thing number 3 is self-care. And this is something that I have to be consistent about. Burnout is a problem in our field.
Yes,
and I am no stranger to burnout. I've been there. I was there last October. And I believe now that when I'm taking really good care of myself, I can actually do my best work. And that, in fact, the inverse is true. If I am not taking really good care of myself, then my work quality will suffer. And so that's something that I put a lot of focus on. I think about it and I'm intentional about it every single day.
I love that, and the fact that you could pinpoint the month that you were going through burnout shows that that was when a paradigm shifted in your head and you did something different about it. So first, kudos to you for taking that courageous step, because a lot of people view addressing burnout as, not doing work as well or slowing down in the office and potentially underperforming or decreasing your performance. I would argue the exact opposite. When 100% of you is there, in 7 hours, you're going to get more done than you would in 12 hours.
Yes, 100%. Could not agree more. I think that, time is limited, right? Time is limited, but energy is not. And what I think a lot about is, how do I cultivate my energy? How do I protect my energy so that I get to decide where that energy goes? And it's become a little bit of, there's focus, there's prioritization, there's asking for help, there's saying no to things that are not important so that I can focus on the things that are the most important to me. There's being flexible and agile and human. I think that we are not linear beings. We are not designed to be on all the time. And if we can embrace our natural energetic cycles, I think that can actually be a real benefit in the workplace.
I completely agree. When you made that change, how open were you with your team? I'm curious, because I believe that people will imitate and follow what their leaders do. And if you're burned out, there's a good likelihood that your team was burned out as well.
Yeah.
Did you see a change in anybody? I'm just curious.
I'll tell you what, I am almost every other time I meet with my direct reports, I say to them, when is your next vacation planned? Because I need to know that you are proactively planning to take time off. And the more planned you are about it, the more all the rest of us can support you. And the more you can protect that. And they will say to me, Caroline, when's the next time you have time off?
Exactly.
And then I think about it, right? And I happen to be actually this upcoming week, I will be recording another LinkedIn Learning course. This one is going to focus on number 3 and number 4 of the new 2021 OWASP Top 10. And the following week, I'm taking off. I'm going to be relaxing with my family and recharging before I get back to it. Last month, a colleague of mine said, Caroline, you're always encouraging me to make sure that I'm proactively planning my time off. Are you taking any time off this month? And I said, I hadn't yet planned on it, but I will. And I looked at my calendar and I found a relatively empty day a couple of weeks in the future from that point in time. And I put on my calendar, I'm out of the office for a mental health day. And that is what I wrote on my weekly status planning report to our executive team. And we've created a culture at the company where we understand that if we're proactive about taking care of ourselves, we're going to prevent burnout, we're going to increase retention, and frankly, we're just going to get better quality work out of our folks.
I love everything that you just said, and I agree with everything you just said. I'm actually recording my first LinkedIn course in next month. Actually, so I'm excited. It's on
so fun.
Becoming a CISO. So
fun.
Joining the LinkedIn Learning family.
I can't wait to see your course.
Man, thank you for your thoughts on burnout, and thank you for leading from the front. you are building a culture, and the reality is it does help attrition, but someone's going to leave Cobalt, but they're going to leave with the seeds that you planted in them, and that's going to help the industry at large. So thank you so much for that. So you've already demonstrated that transparency in so many ways is a leadership principle that you operate with. What are some of the other leadership principles that you structure your leadership style around?
Yep. So I have a recognition that every person brings different strengths and weaknesses to the table, and that we're a team, and that to work in a team is different than to work towards something as an individual. There's an opportunity for us to figure out, how do we best work together? And the place that we have to start is, what's the problem we're trying to solve? Another way to look at that is, what is the state that we are trying to accomplish? That's where we must start. And once we know where we want to be, once we know and really understand what's the problem we're trying to solve, then we can look at ourselves as a team and say, okay, how are we going to do this? Who's going to do what? So that we don't have gaps and stuff is falling between the cracks, and also so that we don't have duplication. I've known managers in this field who will say, direct report A, go and do this thing. Turn around and say, direct report B, go and do this exact same thing. I've known people who use this as a management and a leadership style, and I could not disagree with it more. And, if direct report B goes through direct report A and says, hey, what are you working on? We find out it's the same thing. They go to the manager, and the manager says, oh yeah, I did that on purpose. I wanted to see who could get it done faster. From my perspective, that is a total and utter waste of resources. It's not good for morale. It's not good for productivity. That will not work in any sort of medium or long term.
Yeah, you just gave everybody an example of what not to do. I've never seen that, but I would be very quick to call it out. We are struggling to find resources, so to duplicate efforts among the resources that we do have, is just highly inefficient and irresponsible. And I would argue, as someone that has a fiduciary responsibility to the organization, it's reckless.
Absolutely, I agree.
So you're an author of a book on metrics. I have to ask you at least one question about metrics. Now, so for any new leader, because this is a show for leaders, for any new leader that is moving from focusing on technical metrics within their specific function to an executive with more of a horizontal realm of responsibility in cyber, what advice do you have for developing and approaching the development of a broader set of metrics?
Yep. So my piece of advice is to go and learn about and become an expert on the key business metrics at the organization that you're working for. The job of security is to protect the value that's created by an organization. And we as security leaders have an opportunity to really, really study and analyze and investigate and understand how the organizations that we're protecting create value. That is my number one piece of advice. The other thing, Jarek, that I have to share with you is that, sometimes you work on something and sometimes things take a really long time. To write a book takes a while. It takes a while. And this particular book was published a long time ago now in 2011. It's been more than a decade. And I could not be prouder that recently, my security metrics book has been accepted into the Cybersecurity Canon Hall of Fame a decade after being published. And I'm so proud. And
Wow.
I think it just goes to show, sometimes things that you hope for, sometimes they take a while, and sometimes they're still totally worth it. Just totally worth the wait.
Wow. And that's a testament to the timelessness of what you wrote as well, and how applicable it's going to be for the totality of the security industry. We're always going to need to measure how effective we are or are not when it comes to security performance. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever spoken with someone that was in the Cybersecurity Hall of Fame, didn't know there was a Cybersecurity Hall of Fame. And now I need to know, well, where is this Cybersecurity Hall of Fame?
Yep, we will
Where is
get
it?
links. Cybersecurity Canon Hall of Fame. I will make sure that for this session, we've got it. I'm actually just putting it into our StreamYard so that folks can check it out at their leisure.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. All right. I only have one more question for you, and it's a question I ask everybody. I am a strong believer in storytelling, metaphors, and analogies when it comes to communicating technical topics to non-technical audiences. Do you have one that you like to use?
I have two, if it's
Ooh,
okay that I
let's
share
do
with
it.
people. So one of them, um, perhaps I'm sure you and a lot of folks watching and listening have heard the running away from a bear analogy. So the
Mhm.
analogy is that, Jarek and I are running away from a bear, and I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun Jarek, because then the bear is going to eat Jarek and be full and not need to go after me, which I think is just ridiculous. I think it's an inappropriate way to think about our work. I think that a more appropriate analogy is actually a three-legged race, because we are so interconnected. Every software company is a provider to another software company and is also a consumer of many different software and services organizations. It's an ecosystem. To that point, and I'm going to kind of go into my second analogy now. I think security is not a vitamin. I think it's not a painkiller. I think it's not a feature. It is not something you can bolt on or add on after the fact. I actually think that security is and has always been a result, an emergent property of the decisions and actions of many different people. I actually think the best analogy for security is a dance.
As somebody that can't dance, you guys heard it here first. I cannot dance. I love that I can now be associated with dancing because my wife will tell you that she would have never thought that she would hear that, especially not on YouTube. And it's here forever now. Jarek
It's
is
here.
associated with dancing.
It's here. Jarek dances. Jarek dances as a security leader. You dance with the stakeholders. You
Mm.
dance with all the different people whose decisions and actions and behaviors make up this emergent property that is your responsibility to manage the risk of. We're all in this together.
I love it. I love it. I could think of so many add-ons. I'm stepping on toes. Sometimes I'm not stepping on toes. Caroline, thank you. I think that was the most unique but perfect ending to our show that we've had. Once again, this was a fireside chat. You had a number of topics to cover and you nailed all of them. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course.